Bam.
That's it. What's up, everybody? I am here with Jeff Quiane. What's going on, Jeff?
Man, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on, James. I'm doing good today. How about you?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. I'm really happy you was able to jump on with us and just kind of talk about some of the stuff that you've been able to do and your connections in and of itself. So can you tell everybody a little bit about, your mark that you've made in this real estate business and some of the things that you're currently doing now?
Yeah, well, I'll start with probably not the best thing to say, but I'll be real upfront and honest with everybody. I have never sold a single home from a residential perspective. So, I'm a salesperson, and I mean that in the highest regard. I consider myself a craftsman and a master of my craft. And those of you who have had success as a real estate agent, you've probably at some point realized that, you are a salesperson. And whether you're in this game or another game, everything is sales. And so I have a lot of experience when it comes to sales, and I've been able to apply that I was in the financial services world for a long time. And so if you've seen Boiler Room or Wall Street or Wolf of Wall Street or Prime Gig, all those movies, Glenn Ross, I kind of grew up in that environment, the boiler room, hammering the phones, face-to-face, whatever it took to get a deal. And I learned some priceless lessons. I was in the oil business for a long time here in Texas and funded over $100 million in drilling projects across the country, most of which are raised from private investors who get a phone call one day from somebody. They didn't wake up thinking they were going to invest into an oil well. I promise you that. So you think calling somebody on an expired listing is hard. Try calling James and saying you got an oil well out in Texas that's 1,500 miles from him that he'll never see, but hey, give me $100,000 and there's a chance you might make some money. Don't worry if you lose it all, at least it's a tax write-off. Make that call 300 times a day, send out those prospectuses on straight commission, and you will figure out a way to pick up some dough because you're going to starve to death if not. But oil prices, as everybody probably remembers, about 10 years or so ago, 8 to 10 years ago or so, there was a turn in prices and commodity prices. And I remember at one time oil, for instance, being $140 a barrel and a lot of demand in the investor community for projects like that. And then when I got out of the business, it was down to $32 a barrel. So you try calling somebody on a high risk investment and then couple the fact that you're in a market where they've seen the commodity price just tank. And you're like, well, the good news is that we've got plenty of upside. Look at all the potential. Better buy low, sell high. Why would you want to get in at 140? Now's the time to get in, But I looked for, it's just tough. And it's not what it was. A lot of unscrupulous people in the business that have tainted it, with a bad light. And so I wanted to change. And that's how I transitioned in to real estate and working with Jay Kinder and Michael Reese. And they had a brokerage here in Addison, Texas. And they were looking for somebody to really come onto the team and fire up the inside sales team, get some systems and processes in place to make that more efficient, have some accountability, and hit the goal. And so we built that brokerage up to, over 500 homes a year. We had about 20 outside agents, and I supported that whole inside sales role and kind of worked in a lot of different facets in that. But when it comes to sales, really making the calls myself, you know what I mean? I would sit down with the team and I spent, I made the calls every day, I was changing industries, and I said, man, instead of relying on what I have done, I know I'll just go in there and sit down and start making the calls. And there's no quicker way to earn respect or get some loyalty from those people that you're going to be looking to manage. So that's what we did. We made calls to expireds, canceled, for sale by owners, circle prospecting, home value leads, buyer online generated leads that were buyers. That's what we did.
So all right. So you were doing the oil and basically, convincing people to give up the $100,000 to be the Rockefellers, right? That's kind of was sure. Somewhat like that. A lot of stuff in between.
Yeah. Look, it just so happens, James, and this isn't prep, but I was digging through some old stuff before. Like here's an example right here, Ashton Equipment, joint venture. I mean, this is it. This is what you're sending to people. I just want to point out, if anybody out there is calling expired listings and they're timid or hesitant about doing this, imagine if you were just going to send somebody this. You think it's supposed to be fancy? This is just a simple old document. Look, this is, you say, grab this piece of paper. It's a piece of paper. These are the projections. I'm going to say, hey, James, look at that column right there. That's about $25,000 a month in income. You think you could live with that? Great, grab the paperwork. I mean, that's tough. Asking somebody to give you a chance to talk to them about how you could help them sell their home when they've already had it on the market is a whole lot different, much easier conversation.
So what were some of the transitions that you did going from, what you were doing before into like calling an expired listing or calling a for sale by owner or a circle prospecting? What was some of the things? Like I know it's different in and of itself, but like with what we find is in business and industry, a lot of stuff is just they're the same. So what was some of the things that you took from there and it was like, hey, this here is a piece of cake?
Yeah, well, it's never a piece of cake, right? That's something I took from years and years of experience. Don't expect cake. When like it's steak. Sometimes steak is tough. You know what I mean? The cake's the dessert afterwards, but don't get it twisted. When you're doing the work, it ain't supposed to be a piece of cake. One of my favorite sayings is, if it don't feel like work, it ain't gonna work. Yeah. And so, it's not supposed to be easy. But my takeaways, man, and so there are some things that are universal. So bottom line is making the calls. I don't care what industry you're in. If you're trying to sell, if you're trying to call anything or talk to any prospects, you just have to get out there face to face. If we're talking about appointments, then go on appointments. Get in front of as many people as possible so that you can deliver your presentation as many times as possible. If we're talking about the objective is to make calls and connect with expired listings, then make those calls. That's the biggest thing, is you just got to get out of your head and make the call. The first call of the day is the hardest. By the time you get past 20, 30, 40 calls, you're blowing and going. And then the unfortunate thing is if you step off to go get some coffee or something, it's the worst. You got to build that momentum back up. So just make the call, get going. That's number one. It doesn't matter if I was calling investors across the country and it was a day where I didn't want to get going or I had all this negative talk going on in my head about what was going to happen. The way I can get over that is just take action. Pick up the phone. Same thing as expireds. It's 8 o'clock. Oh, they're going to be pissed off because I'm the first person to call them this morning. It's 8 o'clock. Get out of your head. Just pick up the phone and make the call, because you can't be fearful at the same time as you're taking the action. So the immediate way to stop that fear, which I think everybody has. Again, it's not supposed to be cake. It's not supposed to, you're not supposed to not feel that way. I mean, I've been doing it for 20 years. And I still have that feeling, but I just know it's normal. I actually convert it into like energy and enthusiasm instead of like where people might have butterflies or nervousness. I take a deep breath and I turn that into like fuel and energy. And I just understand that, man, that's normal. Don't let it hold me back. Just walk forward. So that's one thing. Tonality, tonality is huge. If I was on the phone with an investor, it would make a big difference. The way I said, now looking at these numbers, James, can you see what we're talking about? If we could just do half of that, would you be satisfied? That's way different than saying, James, look at this. If we do half of that, you'd be satisfied. Now it sounds like I'm telling you, there's just no empathy there. And so that same thing, I understand you're getting tons of calls. I know that you've probably heard everything under the sun. People probably telling you that they have a buyer for your home and they haven't even seen it yet. But I just want you to know, I'm not going to list your home today. In fact, if you just had a few seconds, I wanted to talk to you about why were you selling the home in the first place? I mean, that tonality versus, when do you plan on getting your home listed with an agent that can sell it? Oh, why didn't it sell? Well, do you know that agent, whole different deal. So tonality is a big deal that I think people overlook. So, let's just say 3 things that I take away that are universal. You got to pick up the phone. You got to take action. Second is, you got to have be aware of the tone of voice that you're using, because on the phone, you don't have the benefit of all these other things like your mannerisms and body language and all this stuff. I can touch you on the shoulder, pat you, all the stuff that I can influence you with. I don't have those on the phone. Really, I have, my tonality and the modality and just the voice inflection, all those things. And then the third thing I would say is practice, man. There is absolutely no way. I don't know anybody who's ever had a high level of success in sales that didn't rehearse and practice some sort of script over and over and over and over. And yeah, you might talk to them 10 years later and they say, oh, I don't really like scripts, or I don't use scripts. Man, they just evolved to a script that is invisible. You know what I mean? But I promise you, they did it. I was watching something the other day. We do a team training every morning, sales training. A lot of times we'll watch videos on YouTube. And you know that sales trainer, Dan Locke?
Yeah.
Like an Asian guy. And he was talking about the number one success, like how to be success, guaranteed success. And one of his things was preparation. And he was talking about how, like, if he's doing a live speaking event, he'll get there to the venue the night before. He'll walk the auditorium or the speaking venue beforehand. He'll walk by and touch every seat that's in the place, even though they're empty, just because then later, tomorrow, I'll feel like I have a connection with where those people are sitting. I've walked down and touched those seats. And then he says he'll go back to his hotel and he will rehearse his presentation at his hotel 6, 7, 8 times that night. And right before he's about to go to bed and he thinks he's done it enough, he'll do it one more time. And he says this is a presentation that he's done, you know, dozens and dozens of times. It's not like he probably really has to do that, but it makes it so that it's internalized. He doesn't have to think about what he's saying while he's saying it, and he can focus on what's important is the transfer of emotion, and that's the tonality. Yeah. That's my ability to use that. I can't be all, I can't effectively communicate using all the tools available if at the same time I'm trying to figure out what it is I'm going to say. Yeah. Do yourself a favor and spend 20 hours rehearsing what you're going to say, and then you can have a good time, and you can use voice inflection, and you can think ahead. You can plan for a trial close opportunity or a transition to a close in the conversation. So I think that preparation, man, and when we're talking about expireds and in the realm that we work in today, you know, we had every day 2 huddles. We had role play training once a week. But throughout, because I'm really big on just being, real time feedback. And so if I'm working with somebody from a sales coaching perspective, one of the most valuable things I can do is be in the same room with you, sitting next to you while you're making your calls. Because then I can see what's real and what's not. The fact is, when I say, what was your day today and how it went, whatever you tell me is likely more than 50% untrue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it's hard if you go back and say, well, you know, yesterday I was having some problems with somebody saying they had another agent or something. And I can say, oh, well, here's how you should approach that. You know, we don't want to be combative. Let's just say that wouldn't it make sense maybe to get a second opinion just to ensure that you do get your home sold this time around. Let's say that was the route.
Yeah.
I can tell you that right now. And maybe you would go use that tomorrow. But the fact is you probably wouldn't. You know, the fact is that only 20% of the people are going to write it down. 80 are going to think that they're going to remember that. So the 20% that write it down are on the right track. But then those people put it in this notepad, and then this notepad goes over here. And when I'm on the phone, I might as well never even have heard it because it's not here ready for me to use. So then the top people out of that 20%, and I know you had it back in the day, I did. I mean, if you walked into my office back in the day, the wall was covered with a roadmap of what I'm supposed to say and where. And, you know, I'd be standing up on the. I'm on the phone and I'm looking at the thing like boom, boom, boom. Right.
Yep. It's the same thing, man. It's funny that that you lay those 3 things out, because I mean that's some of the stuff that we try to talk to our team about. The biggest step is, like you said, making a call. And what we used to do, we used to go to what's the movie? The Wolf of Wall Street. So I'll play the clip when the guy's getting up there talking, and he's basically telling everybody, look, if you need to pay your mortgage, pick up the phone. If your car note is due, pick up a phone. If you need a vacation, pick up the phone. I want you to deal with your problems by showing up to them being rich. We'll play that and get everybody pumped up just to get everything going. But I mean, it's absolutely everything. Like 50% of it is actually picking up the phone and making that call. And then the other part of it, like you was talking about, like the tonality, like that is huge. When we're doing like offers, when we're talking to a buyer or seller, we're basically making them offers to, want them to work with us. I used to get like a highlighter and highlight certain words so that they know that this word needs to be said different than these other words, because you know how it is. People hear what they want to hear. But if you stress a word out, then they'll hear that one more so than if you just kind of talk normal through a word. So you want them to hear that connection part of it. And then the practice part, man, that's actually golden, man. I know a lot of people, get a whole lot out of that. And then I know right now you all have an event coming up here in July. Can you kind of speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. It kind of transitions in this event. Yeah, it will. One thing I wanted to add, man, is you said the word, so it is super powerful. So there's a great book everybody should read called Exactly What to Say by Quiane Jones. It's super simple. It's stuff you can apply immediately, and it's focused on 23 words and phrases that you need to implement into your communication with prospects. And we need to remember that, the people buy on emotion, right? People make a change, they get up and move, usually based on something emotional, right? And you've probably heard the saying before that people don't, or people buy on emotion and they justify on logic, right? And so if I'm trying to maybe sell you on the numbers or in a way that seems logical, that's not always the best track. I could probably get you to make a decision more in talking about the transformation that might take place, the feelings that you would have when we made this move, the impact and the change, and then envision what that looks like. All that's causing you to get emotionally involved in the decision, which is where you'll make a decision. And then when you go and say, damn, did I make the right decision? Then you're going to logically try to explain, well, they do have a system where they can help me sell the home for more money. They do have, all these different, but then you're going to justify based on logic. So how do I get somebody emotional and get emotionally involved? And there's the transference of my enthusiasm and excitement for what I can do and transfer that to them. You have to use words like happiness behind you and wisdom probably right there next to you there. Those are words that trigger an emotional feeling for people. And so instead of saying course, this training event that we have, has a digital course, and I'm probably putting my foot in my mouth now because I'm not prepared to come up with a different word, but let's say digital course. That doesn't get anybody emotionally excited about nothing. A digital course, invaluable on-demand training. I don't know, that maybe it gets me a little bit more involved. And so if I'm writing a script or I'm maybe coming up with my value statement, be sure to choose words that create an emotional trigger. Throw out the crappy words that that don't. So that would be my thing on there. And the fourth thing I wanted to add, before you make the call, we said you got to make the call. You got to use good tonality, and you got to practice. Before all that, probably starts with the mindset. You talked about, you got to come in with, you got pumped up. You watched the video, and that's all it takes. Just get me pumped up for 15 seconds. I just need 1 second to be in that mindset, to lift that phone up and just get me going. Yep. I don't need to stay. I don't need to watch that film all day. I just need it just a little bit, just so I can get off the runway and get going. And so you got to look for ways to get your mindset in the right place, because all this other stuff, I can make the call. I can try to use tonality, which won't work if I'm in the wrong mindset. And I can try to practice. But if I'm not in the right mindset, I might practice all day long and never pick up the phone and actually talk to somebody and think I'm doing something. I'm just going to practice some more. Dude, you're scared to pick up the phone. Just pick up the phone, right?
Yep.
So I would say that. But so part of that comes from the leadership in an organization. You and Ron, I know you guys coach with us, and we've been in part of some of your internal discussions, and I have some understanding of how you run your meetings with your team. And so it all is an example of really good leadership. And so that's what it takes to get somebody making the calls and to understand what they need to do to be successful. And a lot of the times, if you're busy making the calls alongside of those people, if you're busy having to be in production constantly, then it's hard sometimes to step back and kind of play the leader. And that's what Agent to CEO is really all about. So Agent to CEO Live is a digital live streaming event that we have coming up July 27th to the 28th. It's a 2-day live streaming event really focused on the systems and processes that have been proven, not just in real estate, but really through Fortune 500 companies and up. And these are skills that we learned through coaching with people like Vern Harnish, Jay Abraham. And so these aren't principles that we made up, but they're principles that Jay Kinder, Michael Reese, and the rest of the team over years and years of implementation and adaptation to the real estate business. They're ones that have been refined to work specifically for real estate agents that want to grow their business. So these are the principles that we teach, systems and processes on how to grow your business. And what I think that really looks like is how do you grow your business where you're not constantly a slave to production? Meaning that if you wanted to go take a vacation, as I know you like to do sometimes, James, that the business will still run on its own. Yes. Yeah. You know, like you don't have to be dependent to bring in every single dollar. That shouldn't be. Right? Your job should be to lead the team towards the just cause. Maybe your just cause is to find people in the Atlanta marketplace, the perfect home that meets all their family's needs. If that's our just cause, then as a leader, your job is to get everybody on the team focused on what they can do to hit that just cause. It's not necessarily you doing those things that would help you get to the just cause. And it's really hard sometimes, it has been for me, to understand that being a leader, sometimes you might do less than what you think you should be doing, right? And that's the trap. So Agent to CEO allows you to start working more on your business rather than in it. It gives you those systems and processes. It gives you the leadership and hiring and team training skills. It gives you, really a plan to scale your business so that you can create whatever it is that you want. We have some agents that we coach that their goal is to sell 500 homes, a year and be relatively small. I mean, they might do that with just them and maybe 3 other people on their team. There are others that want to have 25 agents on their team and do, 2,000 homes a year. And there's other agents who don't want nobody on their team. They just want to focus on agent attraction. Mm-hmm. There are some agents who just want to get to 100 and have a process where they can just travel a little bit more. And so it's all different for everybody, but it gives either way at the end of the day what you usually need to do to get to your just cause. Your just cause, your core value, your as an individual, it's probably not to be selling homes 50 years from now or 30 years from now. Right. And so I have to do whatever I have to do to get there. But how do I grow to get to the point where I can reach my just cause, whatever that is? Because just constantly having to be dependent on me generating new sales isn't the way to do it. I can't grow the business and spend the time on the high leverage activities that allow me to do that when I'm at the same time having to call the expires and at the same time having to manage contract close and at the same time having to meet with buyers and at the same time having to come up with whatever our marketing campaign is and at the same time trying to meet with sellers. And now how are you supposed to come up with some strategy to grow your business again? So that's what Agent to CEO really is. I would say, to be honest, it's not for a brand new agent. Expert Advisor Bootcamp that you've been to would be more suited for that, where you really learn the sales skills, presentation skills, daily habits that you need to be successful and really get your business off the ground and profitable. Agent to CEO is the next level. If you're listening to this and you're already pretty successful in your real estate business, but you seem to be kind of at a ceiling, maybe you the last 2 years have been at the same level and had a hard time breaking through that ceiling, then Agent to CEO would probably be a good fit for you. It would allow you to enjoy what you're doing more because you get skills and processes and systems that allow you to focus on what you should be doing and what you should delegate instead. And then you start actually taking action to do that. I mean, you'd probably be a better testament to it, James. I mean, you guys have done it with kitchens and walked through the process and gone through your strategic plan and your functional org chart and started deciding which things do I do and which things do I delegate. And
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you've done all that.
It was real powerful when I went when it was in Texas. I mean, it was just, I mean, the information was tremendous. Not only did it help us with our business, but like you said, it helped you be a better leader. I talk to people all the time, and they're they're at a certain level in production. It's like, hey, I want to, I just need to hire some people because these, I can't do everything on my own, and I don't need the headache. I'm like, well, first of all, when you start hiring people, you're going to get more headaches. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. But, the agent, the CEO, they teach you and they go over the accountability part of it, of how to have everyone in your organization accountable and how to measure that and to keep them with their eyes on the goal. So it's really powerful. I mean, I strongly suggest anybody that is looking to scale and to grow. Like you said, I don't recommend it either for a brand new agent because I mean it probably doesn't make sense. But if you're at a certain level of production and you're looking to scale and grow your business to the point where you can go on vacations, which I like to take a lot of them because I know you see my stuff on Facebook. But you don't want your business to stop when you go out of town. So you need something that's going to be working for you. So I mean that's definitely one that I highly recommend.
And I would say what I was going to say is, it helps you let go. So you mentioned you hire. So one of the things to watch out for is that, and I'm guilty of this, and so that's why probably I'm so aware of it being a potential threat, is that even when you do have people that can help you, you have to let them help. And sometimes there are things that you might be good at, and so you want to continue. It all comes down to control. At the end of the day, just letting go of the stuff that you're used to doing is hard. And then there's some things that you think you just do great. And maybe you do, but it's actually a weakness for you to be spending time doing. So even the things that you do well can be a weakness, because regardless of whether you do them well or not, there's likely something else that you could be doing that would generate more revenue or push us towards the just cause at a faster way. I can design a good logo, but dude, that ain't a good, hell, I might even enjoy it, but that is not a good use of my time, right? Just because I'm good at it and I might enjoy it does not mean it's a good use of my time. And so when that moment comes and you're going, all right, here are the things I'm going to do, here are the things you're going to do, you need to move that. Just because you like it and you want, no, let them do it. And that's a whole freeing experience on its own, I think. And I think that what really illustrates the example of being a leader and getting to what I said about you not having to do all the heavy lifting. Like your job is not to create the outcome, right? So if it's like, if we're talking about calling expireds, my job isn't to set the appointments. I should not feel that my job is to set the appointments. It's my job to get the ISA team all the tools and the resources that they need so that they can set the appointments. Yep. So I shouldn't be measured necessarily. And I know you could argue this, I could argue the other side, but I really do tend to believe this, is that I should not be measured on the appointments. I should be measured on how effective I've given the team the tools and the resources to set the appointments. And it's kind of hard because I would think, no, I'm accountable for the appointments. And sometimes if that's the case, then what happens is I get in there and I start making the calls. And then I start, putting my foot on the pedal, creating the outcome, which now what happened to the leader role? That's not serving the leadership role. What happened to getting them to be able to do it? And that's what happens, right? I get out of the leader role and I go, here, let me do it. Guys, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And here you are. And so the analogy that I heard that I think paints it so well is, you imagine you're sailing a ship across the ocean and you're the captain. And your job is to be on deck, navigating and plotting that ship towards its destination. You have no business being below the deck in the ship, tinkering with the engine, trying to get it to go faster.
That's it.
That's what the team is for.
Yep.
Right? And sometimes that's what we end up doing. It's hard to steer the ship and have the view from being on deck. It's how can I steer the ship towards the destination if I'm not even on deck? I can't even see if there's land over here or not. I'm busy down in the ship. And next thing you know, we're off course. And it's because I didn't think I was leading correctly, because I thought leading meant I had to be down there in the ship with the guys tinkering. And maybe sometimes you do get in the trenches with your people, but you do it for a specific reason, and that's for leadership, because you're building more loyalty from the team. But you realize that this is not the best use of my goal. I need to be up on deck, steering us towards our destination, right? And you guys go down there and feed the coal in the steamer.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody wants to check out, I mean, definitely click on the link for Agent the CEO. But I mean, funny story, man. I kind of like backed into this this whole I'm gonna have the team to do everything, because when me and Ron, when we first got together, our dynamic was I was gonna make the phone calls, he was gonna go on the appointments, and we always say I'm gonna set them up, you knock them down, kind of like basketball. What I'm saying, I'm throwing alley-oops, you catch it and dunk it. So that was our whole process with it. And it came to a point where I was about to take one of my vacations, and I was one making the calls, and I didn't want to make calls on vacation. That's not a vacation to me. I wanted to be able to lay on the beach and enjoy the wife and just do all the other stuff. So I had a person that was on our team, and I brought him in, and I showed him how to make calls and book appointments. And I spent a lot of time with him. I took my time and really got him straight, because I didn't want any hiccups while I was out. I didn't want those type phone calls. End up going on vacation. And, it's one of those things where I was to kind of checking back just to kind of see everything's going. And he started booking more appointments than I was. Ron's telling me they got extra deals under contract. And I'm just like, man, this is actually pretty cool. I get to actually enjoy myself and know that the business is taken care of. So I came back with a whole new mindset, whole new outlook on things, and I started seeking to be able to be better at doing that in and of itself. So it's a game changer in your business. If once you become a leader and you're able to put other people in those boxes like John always say, those boxes, so you can actually start like you say, navigating the ship. I mean, it is a difference maker. You got a business that's working for you rather than you working in your business.
You said, and so think about, now you had the guy who was getting the same appointment, so I was getting the same output that I was getting, even more than when you were doing it. And now you have the time. You were on vacation, but then when you come back, then you have the time to focus on something else, which likely moves the ship closer to the destination. So think about it. I got twice the reward. Not only did I get the same or better output, but I also got the added advantage of me being able to focus more on moving the ship towards where we want it to go. And so, that's why you have to, you didn't have time to steer the ship as much as you do now, having that person in place. And if the goal is to get the ship somewhere, then that's what you have to do. If the goal is just for you to be on the phone, constantly set appointments, then hey, by all means. But like I said, most people's goal is not to 20, 30 years from now to still be hammering the phones or still be going out meeting with buyers every day or with sellers, or you'd like to at least have the ability to choose when, where, and what you did. And so that's where getting this leadership role, getting the systems and processes that allow you to run your business like a CEO, even if you're a solo agent, you can run your business just like a CEO. So that's what the event is about, man. Be excited. It comes with a digital on-demand online training with our Kinder Reach University. There is a course that Jay Kinder put together that kind of initiated this whole event. First one we did was last year. So we're rolling into this year with some lessons learned from last year's event. So it should be even better. But there is a course online that you get immediate access to. There's a 300-page digital workbook. There's like 25 plus templates and swipe files, organizational chart exercise, like you'd mentioned there, getting the right people in the boxes. Just a lot of exercises that as you go through them will be customized to your business. So July 27th, 28th, love to see you there. I know you'll be there, James, and I appreciate you having me on, man. I enjoy having a good conversation. It's always a good conversation with you.
It is always good. I mean, anybody, like I said before, just click on the link below. Just go ahead and get registered for it. I guarantee it'll be worth it. I mean, if you're serious about growing your business, there's no better place to be in order to get the skill set. So definitely appreciate it, Jeff, like always. And until next time, man, we'll be in touch.
All right, man. Thank you, James.
All right.
Bam.